Hello. This is going to be day 2 of the Summoner build diary that I started yesterday. I have done some changes to kind of what I'm doing with all the minions. While the tree, for the most part, is still the same, more or less, I did do a couple things. First thing is, I took off these nodes for the command abilities, and I'll explain why I did that in just a sec. I kept all this stuff up here, kept all this stuff kind of over here, but I shifted the points from the commands over to more survivability. I also changed ascendancy. I think, again, both have their positives and negatives. Being a Lich, you have access to Unholy Might from the Ascendancy, and that's kind of like the whole selling point for like a Minion style build. And at least with that Ascendancy, you can scale it through mana if you go further into the tree. And there are some defensive options that you can do as a Lich. You do kind of have to go out of your way a little bit more, in my opinion, than at least like an Infernalist, because straight up, you do get Altered Flesh. The physical damage taken as Chaos, that's more of like the smaller hits. If it's a big hit, then it's not going to be mitigated as much. But I think a lot of hard-hitting abilities in the game are elemental, at least from what I could see on POE DB. And then at some point in time, once I get high enough level and I can get my 6th socket, or if I feel like I'm in danger a lot more as I go throughout the maps, I can always get the support gem to have a portion of the damage that I take be redirected to the Hellhound. And in its place of losing Unholy Might through the Lich, you obviously get something like this for Bedet's Will. But instead of losing mana per second as the downside, you have 25% of your life as reserved. Always. And also, in addition to that, in a way, you're kind of getting, like, air quotes, more damage. Whereas Unholy Might from Lich, you're getting, obviously, the flat chaos damage. And then Bedet's Will, you get them more damage from having more minions. Kind of like the right off there. Probably for 4th Ascendancy, I would just choose Pyromaniac, so I don't really have to worry about mana as much. Because at least losing the Lich Ascendancy, where mana is based off of your life regeneration instead of your like total mana, felt nice. I'm checking potions a lot more. I recently had to get an upgraded one. So probably the biggest change is minion composition. So real quick, I'll just go into a map to kind of show gameplay. Sure. Plop some stuff on here. Good enough for me. Then let's just choose. So, with the minions, previous video I was using Arsonists mostly for kind of like clear speed and then single target. And then I had Brutes be kind of an AoE facilitator. But once I got Bedet's Will and getting more Spirit, I was able to, in conjunction, get a Bones of Ullr. This one's pretty decent for both the movement speed and the reservation. Obviously, if you get more reservation to be high rolled for 30, then you can probably have 1 or 2 minions extra. So I shifted around Spirit Reservation from Arsonists, put them into Brutes. At some point, once I get a support gem, and I'll go over kind of ideas later, I'll remove one of these. I also still have Sculptor Warriors set up here. I still have Arsonists that I'll blow up, heal my minions, and just extra added damage. Why not? I still have the snipers. I added Storm Mage because I have the Hellhound and it's always igniting things. I have Stormfire, so the shock, once it gets supplied, primarily to bosses, it never goes away. And then I picked up this. There was some huzzbuzz around 2 Spectres being able to be withdrawn from Act 4. Specifically from... I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not Act 4, but it's this second interlude. If you go outside of this bazaar, you're basically looking for the traveling merchant, and there's going to be 2 mosquitoes. One of these mosquitoes is this haste aura. The other one is kind of like an added flat damage, but it's not that much flat added damage. I don't know if this is intentional or not, because you can't really Spectre anything in Act 4 or beyond. But at least for this guy, it's 84 spirit cost. It's not like the companion where it's percentage based. So value-wise, this is honestly really good. Also, I don't know why this is also working the way it is. If this minion that I spectered here is considered undead, that would make sense. Because instead of it being the 84, it's the 62. So it must be undead somewhere. I haven't taken the time to actually look it up. So yeah, just kind of have this real quick, show kind of running around here.
Obey me.
Gameplay wise, this is more of like your POE 1. So you just press W. Eventually things will explode. I had a lot of armor. One benefit right now because of the league and actually, I'll show this right now. There's a lot of monsters practically dense here. The brutes actually are really good when it comes to just detonating everything. You can kind of see it over here. One thing I'm still not entirely sure about is single target. That kind of showcased how AoE is pretty good, but single target, depending on the mob, it can take a really long time or it can be extremely short. So things that like block or
I can create better.
just have high armor. It's kind of weird. I'll do this real quick, and then I'll go back to town to finish up.
For the Calder.
Now.
So Expedition also is pretty chill because of the AoE and how
Can oppose.
tightly packed a lot of these mobs spawn. They all just kind of explode at the same time. What I did to kind of supplement getting more added flat damage was getting 6 socket here, getting this support gem. It's one of the lineage new support gems. Whenever you use the command skill that pertains to the minion, so I can't sit here and use an Arsonist for my brutes to get Unholy Might. The brutes have to be using their war cry to get it. But it's basically the ascendancy inside of a support gem. That's the trade-off here. You can't scale it, but this thing is kind of permanently up all the time. So just kind of show you without it on. It's chaos. It adds quite a lot of damage, especially for things like Bonebreaker, like the shockwave. Whenever this procs, it's a decent amount of damage. For the Infernal Hounds, I have increased AoE. That kind of helps with the shock application. I have Muster because I have 8 different minions active that are persistent. It's a decent amount of damage. This is like one of the only few that you can scale up really high. I do have hulking minions in the Infernal Hound. It actually doesn't cost any spirit whatsoever, so it's literally just an upside. More life, more damage, increased size. Although I don't know if the increased size helps with the AoE because of like the radius of the model. I do have Withering Touch in here because now I have added Chaos back. I felt like maybe getting Wither uptime would help. Because otherwise, because I do have Armor Break, I can keep this on and maybe take off Despair, put on Vulnerability. I've kind of played with both. They feel the same. I was originally thinking of, instead of Kurgl's Leash, to use Impale, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't really feel that big of a difference while I was clearing. Maybe it's different on like bossing, like just pure bosses. You could probably actually put Impale in for Shockwave. Maybe that's the play there. Mostly for Pinnacles, I think. Besides that, I haven't really changed my gear at all. I've just been trying to accrue currency to mess around, try things out. So going to future plans,
Hail.
I do think there are some notable mentions for the new gems. So again, Kurgl's Leash. This was 1 chaos, so really cheap. There are a couple things here, depending on what you want to do. For whatever reason, if you wanted to use Infernal Legion on your brutes, you could probably slap this in there as well. So not only are we forcing them to die, but at the same time, they can get Soul Eater. But I think this is more for Reavers than anything else, because they have health loss faster than other minions because of their command ability. Brutus's Brain. if this reads correctly, where minions are unable to take damage, I think this is really, really good to slap into, yeah, I would explain why it's expensive. Put this into things like, where is it? Pain Offering. So this just never, ever dies while it's active. So you can get rid of this, have increased duration, and then all the fun mods. And then also with Clerics, put it in here. You can take out Last Gasp. I don't know what you would put in here otherwise, but that's an option.
Have an order.
I think the other things in here, I don't really see too much of a value. I think Kulamek is more for like a spellcaster, but you're using offerings. This would be something to put in the Infernal Hellhound. So there is the just basic support gem that you can have, where it's going to be this top line here for 10% of damage gets redirected to your guy. Minions have less health. But it's this part right here that gets added, where you recoup 200% of the damage that they take, which could be insane defensive value if this is good. Although recoup happens over 8 seconds. So, yeah. Because of those support gems, I think going over here to this Utmost Offering honestly doesn't make sense. I don't know why this is here if the support gem exists. Even if it is expensive and probably hard to find, or just it's easy to find, but people are buying it in bulk. I think this needs to be changed to something else. Because it's complete point wasted value. Maybe the only thing you get out of here is like the duration buff effect. That's it. I think on this tree, technically, if I really feel so inclined, if removing these nodes feels okay, then maybe I can trek all the way over to here to get more life, more damage. Although I think currently it would be best to put points into defense somewhere. So more energy shield up here, more energy shield down here. Maybe even get some revive speed right here. Like this is a pretty good area to travel down to. It's pretty efficient, I think, because you get increased health, which affects your Hellhounds. It affects your Arsonist, and then you have the ailment threshold, which I picked up over here. The gem here that does drop, if you saw in the footage where Rogue Exile was near an abyss, and you happen to kill it, it gets reborn into a Rogue Lich, and they will always drop a diamond gem like this. These can roll some pretty decent stats. If there's some for minions that look appealing, you can maybe slap them in here. But otherwise, I think things like attack speed, presence, AoE, mini damage, obviously, those will probably take precedence over the other stuff. But final shout out where I end the video. There's two things to keep in mind now. So, it's the wrong place. Focuses are able to have plus to level of minion skills through the use of the Abyss crafting system. So this can actually be a pretty decent alternative to increase like your overall minion build on any setup, while still having some defensive value. Because obviously, once you have a focus, you can get something like this, which is a high energy shield. Maybe some resistances, maybe life if you're doing some shit with that. But as far as I could see, it went up to tier 2. Oh yeah, because of the ratio there. And it comes from Amanu. So definitely a thing to keep an eye on for, which this Amanu,
Have an order?
I don't think I have any, so I'm just gonna search it up here. Abyss is one of these right here. So if you have this in your inventory, just like an omen, you activate it, you use the one of these abyssal bones up here, or if you use the essence of the abyss, that is another way to do it, but I think it's more clunky than trying to find a focus that has a few mods. You use this. I haven't tried it yet. If you're able to get a suffix as well, if you're able to activate both, well, that could be an option. But I think this is more of like endgame crafting. If you did want to still be a Lich with either the previous setup with the minions there or with what I showcase here, if it was appealing enough, as an alternative to not being an Infernalist, you do have Prism Guardian, which this is the Ascendancy right here. The trade-off in this form is that you have to wear a shield. It doesn't have that much going for it. You could argue probably the stats, the all resist. Energy shield and armor are okay. You do get the ability to block, which is again a pretty good defensive value, but you have to actively block, I think, to make it useful. But if you equip this, it's just because you want more spirit to summon more stuff. So I feel like at some point, if you were a Lich, this would almost need to be a necessity if you were trying to scale your damage really high. But also, because I'm an Infernalist now and I have this Kurgle's Leash, presence at least doesn't matter anymore for the Unholy Might, because at least whenever I use the Warcry, they will always have it. So this is all that I've been thinking of. I might play this a little bit more. I've been thinking of doing some crossbow stuff with a Witch Hunter. There were some things that caught my eye, so I did start a character on that. So not sure if I'm going to be playing this character more or that character, but thanks for watching. See you guys later.